So, starting from the very beginning, when the life on Earth must have begun, it was less populated and there was a synchronicity everywhere. But as we developed, as the population increased, everybody, due to certain situations, has always been in a situation of depravity. So they're always striving for something or the other. And whatever was earlier, whatever little bit they had earlier, there was still some peace. Over the period of time, all this uneasiness and to get more, just the greed, that need has turned into greed. And that is what is creating restlessness in today's world. The population has increased so rapidly all over the world. And if I talk about the country that I live in, particularly India, I feel that it is one of the most populated countries in the entire world, despite the land not being too big. So, if there is too much of buzzing happening, you asked me not to bring technology here, but the technology is all about radiations and too much of distraction and everything. Similarly, here we have so many human beings here that everything is creating a buzz because of different energies and vibes of every person. Everyone is struggling in their own ways despite the conveniences that we have today. We are far more safer than the past. For example, I mean, if you talk about the kind of invasions happened earlier, but come to think of it, we are letting ourselves invaded by so many things, be it technology or be it others' opinions or anything for that matter. We're letting anything and everything affect us. So that is what is causing restlessness, and that is why the disconnect from spirituality, what you're trying to talk about.
Hello, everybody. I welcome today Sarika Baheti, also my aunt, to Raw and Unfiltered. Welcome, Sarika. Great to have you here. How are you? And please share a little bit about you, just in your own words, and then we'll go into decoding your story, your experiences, so people can learn, grow, and have knowledge based on experiences and understanding. So, yeah, please.
So thank you so much for welcoming me, Kartike. And I really am looking forward to be in this space for whatever little time we can. And so you're asking me about what I do. So even I can't really frame it in what all I do because I'm never too free and I'm never too busy. So that's the best thing about my life, that all things are prioritized and sorted, and yet my platter is full of interesting things.
So when this is an amazing space to be, so if let's start with this space. So you said never too busy and too
Free.
never too free. So how would you describe this space? What does it feel like, this space, and how's your life in this space feel like for you?
If I recall this from my childhood times, so I was an extremely quiet child. I've come a long, long way since then. So, having been a quiet and an introvert did never mean that not being confident enough of myself. But how I spent my childhood was actually observing things. So I think that was something really fascinating that was so inbuilt in me that I was just observing things and keeping myself occupied in whatever ways. So whether it be going to school, doing your homework, helping at home, attending people who would come as guests, as Atithi Deva Bhava is the essence of India's hospitality. So that has been a part of it, having been in Delhi always. So I think each time, each phase of my life has always been teaching me something and have always been open to the idea, yet have always prioritized my family, my home, my social work that I have eventually graduated with time.
Let's delve first into a bit more on your spiritual journey, because it's very important we understand and people understand first more about your inner being, how you operate as an inner being on a deeper level. What are your practices, how you navigate the storms, how you navigate the ups and downs in life. So if you share more about your journey as a human in how you perceive spirituality? What is your understanding of it? What is your way of going with this flow that you were just explaining? And after that, we'll go more into the work and your creative processes. But first, just your way of experiencing life and how do you do it? Like, what's your way of it?
Life itself is an experience. And I
Yeah.
think the challenges for each one of us. Nobody is free of challenges, how much ever one may perceive that for some people who are financially well off, others may think that life is really easy and good, convenient for them. However, I feel whatever the strata in society you are, everybody has their own challenges. And spirituality for me is, in the truest sense, being in the moment. If you and I are here, if I am there with you, I think this is the quality time that I'm giving to you. And this is the best gift that I can give to you, and you are giving to me. Because right now, when we are here for this duration, so I think this is what we have to really build on in such a way that it actually gives a message to each other and to all those who listen to us. So it should be something meaningful. For me, something meaningful, something purposeful is spirituality. If you're kind enough, if you're living with love and with life and with empathy, I think that gives it a very fulfilling feeling at the end of the day and by the end of your life. So every moment, or by the when your day ends, one should actually ask oneself, how have I felt today? Have I done anything good for myself? Have I learned something? Or have I done something good for anyone else, even if it is a small thing? But is there anything that brought a smile to my face or to someone? I think this is a big thing in today's time, because what people lack, despite all the conveniences, all the money that they have, is lack of time, attention, affection, and empathy. This is what is the most precious thing, each one of them, in today's life. That's what I feel.
Yeah, totally. In the modern time, when you were stating very obviously how people are not able to practice the most obvious thing, as you're stating, why is that? Why do you think this disconnection has risen to such a level? I mean, technology is one component of it, but why, from your eyes, why do you think this disconnection in humans to their soul being present and them living with these simple tangents of life in their everyday to them everywhere else? Why do you think is that is happening, and how do you see that mechanism?
Kartike, this is very interesting. I mean, you have put it so simply, but yet there are so many layers to it, and what all has added onto it in the over the centuries. So if I think about Earth is one, and yet the number of people, human beings, have increased. And despite being in the top of the chain, and despite the brain being the asset of human beings, I think that has created the havoc in life. In the, for example, they say the fourth yug. So, starting from the very beginning, when the life on Earth must have begun, it was less populated and there was a synchronicity everywhere. But as we developed, as the population increased, everybody, due to certain situations, has always been in a situation of depravity. So they're always striving for something or the other. And whatever was earlier, whatever little bit they had earlier, there was still some peace. Over the period of time, all this uneasiness and to get more, to somehow just that greed, that need has turned into greed. And that is what is creating restlessness in today's world. The population has increased so rapidly all over the world. And if I talk about the country that I live in, particularly India, I feel that it is one of the most populated countries in the entire world, despite the land not being too big. So, if there is too much of buzzing happening, you asked me not to bring technology here, but the technology is all about radiations and too much of distraction and everything. Similarly, here we have so many human beings here that everything is creating a buzz because of different energies and vibes of every person. Everyone is struggling in their own ways, despite the conveniences that we have today. We are far more safer than the past. For example, I mean, if you talk about the kind of invasions happened earlier, but come to think of it, we are letting ourselves invaded by so many things, be it technology or be it others' opinions or anything for that matter. We're letting anything and everything affect us. So that is what is causing restlessness, and that is why the disconnect from spirituality, what you're trying to talk about. So, if we're, for example, one were to say that this is all hypothetical or I'm just talking about it. But what I realized when I started a non-profit organization called Niranjali, so I started with the whole idea that I realized that air quality, water quality, soil quality, the food we eat, the noise pollution, everything is not something which is very soothing to one person, and it is harming our health. But then I realized who is creating that outer environment? It is our inner environment. It is our actions. Our actions are led by our thoughts, and our thoughts are led by the knowledge that we have gained over the period of time. Now, is that information, knowledge, and wisdom all aligned enough that we can create a very peaceful environment for ourselves from within and thus create a peaceful outer environment? No, that is not happening. So each one of us has to see from within what is wrong. Because if I say it for myself, I speak for myself. So similarly, your experience in life will be something different. It could be inflicted upon you by someone else. It could have been your own inner conflict. It could be something else. So each one has a different experience. Nevertheless, when you're talking about collective energies that will uplift the whole energy vibration of this earth, the mother earth that we are living on, so that vibration will change entirely if each one of us works upon oneself first, and then our immediate people, our immediate surroundings, society, nation, and world at large. So when I started Niranjali, when I was working on the outer environment, the pollution and everything, so I then redirected my focus on the inner health. And that's when I started Empower with Sarika post COVID. So because I realized that people were consuming more alcohol and drugs because they were limited, confined to their homes. So the first thing that opened after lockdowns were the liquor shops, if you remember. The liquor shops. Just imagine the high officials in the government. When I asked them this question, they say that the economy was so low, and the thing that generates the highest amount and the money flow in the system is liquor. Now, who consumes that liquor? Not just the government officials. It is us as a society who's consuming liquor. So, do you think consuming alcohol, tobacco, or drugs, whether legal, like prescribed drugs, or illegal drugs, everything, we're just getting addicted to it? While what you, as much as I've known you, you are talking about not the dopamine that we get from the technology or the social media or the outside world. What about the one that we create within our body? Our body is a factory. We should be creating that happy hormone from within ourselves. But are we happy? Are we joyful? Are we at ease? Are we at peace? That's my question.
Yeah. So I want to ask you, is it a population problem or it's more of a consumption problem? So if the same number of population that is there right now and their consciousness were to arrive in this space that you're describing really well, um, wouldn't that be the right away a shift in the paradigm of the earth of how people are experiencing life to what they're creating in life, inner and outside? So is it a population problem or it's a consumption problem, which is based on the systems of the outside? It's like they want us to consume more. Buy this, you will find happiness. This doesn't work, get this. Swipe left or right. So it's like everything is becoming this system of get this or get not, like transaction. Everything is a transaction, right? In today's time. So this transaction mechanism, is it a population problem or the mindset problem or the whole aspect of society being raised in a way but we're not even realizing that how we are raising people, how we're raising children, how we're raising our populace and society in systems that are so enchaining their minds, and then having them believe that if you consume this, you will solve this. And you said rightly, in India 30, 40 years ago, people lived a need-based life because that's how life was. And maybe they were happier in that way, or more peaceful. They didn't have so many materialistic comforts and conveniences like today, but they were happy. And people realized that when COVID happened. And then after COVID, everybody forgot in the masses of India, right? So they went back into the old patterns. Of course, shifts happened. People adapted to new ways of life. We see that. So is it more the internal stuff or the population thing?
Interestingly, we were on a holiday and with your father in Australia. And while we were waiting for our car to pick us up, we had just 5 minutes before that. And interestingly, exactly this topic came up. And we started with gender inequality, and we came onto the population, and Ashish, my husband, he was talking about how the process of evolution happened and everything. And we realized that everything, if you remember, during our childhood, we used to play a game called Chain Chain.
Say again.
As kids, we used to play a game called Chain Chain.
Chain.
So Chain Chain would
Remind me
mean,
again, I forgot. What was the game? Chain.
okay, so there is one person who's to start the game. The other players are at the other end, and the one who's at the den. So he starts, and the moment he touches the other person, they both have to hold hands, and they start building on the chain. So together they have to run together, catch the third
I
one,
remember now. I
and then
remember now.
yeah. So that's how population grew, and it is also integrated that it is somewhere the lack of schooling, the knowledge that we share at the schools, because of the growing population. So earlier the population probably grew to strengthen oneself as a society. So earlier it must have started growing that way, that we need to be more in number in order to be stronger together. So I think it must have started way back then, which happened in other countries as well. However, some countries like China and Japan, or many other countries, actually I cannot name many more, but all of them at a certain point, Iran, Israel. So they all realized that the population was growing beyond a certain level, where the facilities and everything will not be able to cater in a very qualitative manner. So we grew in quantity, but the quality deteriorated because there was not enough for everyone. So that's how the line between the poverty and the high profile people who can afford everything, that disparity began because of population, because of the infrastructure that India lacks in. So we could not really kind of grow in terms of our infrastructure and facilities and everything at the pace that population grew. So somewhere, somehow, this whole thing has not worked in a very sustainable manner. So whereby, if you talk about COVID times, you mentioned about COVID times. So that was a time when, like, the whole a lot of people, they all, like, the chain that I was talking about, we were all walking together so randomly and chaotic, because that game, when I'm talking about chain, it used to stop when that chain broke. So if one person faltered, that chain broke. And until they held hands together, they would not be able to complete the game until all the people are out or within the chain. Okay, so when we broke the chain, now coming back to the COVID thing, that we were all running either to save ourselves or rushing towards something. Okay, so there were these two teams. When COVID came, it was a sudden break. Everything split, and we were in a state of shock that what has happened? Sudden break, and everybody was devastated. And this whole mental issues. A lot of people actually went through traumatic phases, whether it be kids. So many kids have actually, I'm told by the doctors that a lot of autistic cases and a lot of mental cases with children happened, those who were growing up during COVID, during the lockdowns. And similarly, but the environment, it was good for the environment. The skies were much cleaner. There was so much peace, and we were trying to be with the family, the bonding time. So there were very many pros and cons during COVID. But the moment lockdowns opened up, And again, we started rushing. Now coming to the point that you said, consumerism. So already there were a number of people, and the kind of online purchasing systems happened. So it became more convenient that people would go out to entertain themselves in order to socialize and everything, because that is what they lacked during COVID, and they felt, oh, we were missing this out. So it was a sudden indulgence into socializing and moving out and doing some stuff which would entertain them. But at the other end, it was more like an online shopping, the convenience of buying more and more. So we are burdening the earth even with more things, isn't it? We do not have the correct disposal system as in India, with the disposal system. We are still to get all those things corrected. And we have more heaves of the garbage and everything. So if there is garbage outside, would you feel happy seeing the garbage? Now, that garbage which is outside is only a reflection of our inner self. We have so much of garbage within, in our thoughts, in our words. People do not realize, they do not have the patience to listen. They do not have the whole I would say that flair of conversing which we used to have earlier. Why so many suicidal cases? Why the vibrations of the earth are going low? It is not just the population. It is because each one of us is, because of the social media also. We just want to watch reels which are short, something which is just a caption. Anything longer, people would skip. So the patience is decreasing, the patience level. People just want to hear what they want to and disconnect with everything else. So, what kind of vibration are we causing? If we are all to live within ourselves, but evolving at the same time, that will create a solution. That yes, we are focusing on ourselves and evolving. But if that whole setup is not leading us to peaceful environment in our mind, we are definitely deteriorating. The graph of peace is declining while our economy, our GDP might be increasing. That's what my feeling is.
This disconnect between our economics, our way of living, and the earth, which is, I mean, it's so obvious to see, right? Everybody sees it, everybody recognizes it as well. Um, but it seems like a problem too grave now in so many people's minds that they feel almost numb, not be able to do anything about it, right? They feel powerless. It's almost like this powerlessness comes from a space inside them that they realize all of this. They even understand, maybe on some conscious or unconscious level, because they're unhappy, right? So they feel the suffering. At the same time, they feel powerless. Now, when we talk about spirituality as something that is not just out there, something that we are practicing and we are implementing in ourselves, and we're taking action through it, right? Through whatever, it can be a company, it can be whatever action that is aligned with your essence. Um, Now, that action, staying in that high vibration inside and taking that action from that high vibration inside to outside, this is the only kind of mechanism that works to really shift things, correct? What is, in your way, that is, in the ancient times, let's say even in the Indian civilizations, the way we empowered people, our civilization, was we ensured that from the birth they would first understand all of these things. Spiritually, they would be strong, they would know how to make fire, they would know how to go to the jungles, cut the trees, and build houses. They were very empowered in their, if I bring it very simply, in their root chakra. Even if you left them in the jungles, they would figure something out. That's how they were trained. Even the sons of the kings were sent into the forest to be like, live in the ashrams, figure out all the skills, figure out all the craft, right? Then the colonizations happen in different forms, which broke all of those systems, right? Systems that were there to keep you intuitively very aligned, keep you physically strong, right? Physical practices of yoga, asanas, breathworks to keep your immune system strong. And through that, you had the power, ability, skills, intuitive knowledge to create. You had the power to even fight if you needed to defend yourself, right? All these systems were in place. Now, they were systematically broken down to put us into this low vibration, powerless stream, that there's somebody else out there who's going to come and save us, right? The savior victim complex triangle. How you see, because in the masses, how you see that this disconnect can be bridged?
Uh, Starting from one own self, like from within. So an individual, whatever all said and done, whenever we feel that we are aware of all the discrepancies or the flaws, whether in a person or in a system, eventually the change happens only when one is determined to do it. So, how much ever I may point out to someone that this is the flaw, but until that one person tries to bring that, is determined to bring that change in oneself, the other person cannot impose. So, it is, so why it has to be in a direction. So, there used to be in geometry, it used to be a single ray, a single directional ray, and there is two directional rays. Yeah. So, the arrows are pointing to in two directions. So this is unidirectional or bidirectional, or now we are living in such a world that we actually need a very holistic going back to the older systems. So it is so important that we first focus on our health, physical, mental, emotional, and then we can get onto the spiritual. So I would say we should begin with the physical health first. Until we are physically fit, we will not be able to think correctly. If we will not be able to think correctly, our emotions is something which are bound to go haywire and make us feel very complex. And if you're not settled in all these three domains, spirituality is out of question. So people think that if they get into spirituality, everything else will fall into place. If that works for them, well and good. So take help of any such step. Out of these four steps, anything could be the stepping stone to bring us back into that circle, that chakra. So you talk about those seven chakras in spirituality, right from the root chakra to the crown chakra. So out of all these things, how I relate the chakras is to the rainbow. So whatever way, whatever your vibration is, start in one, whether inwards or outwards, whatever, but bring it back into the flowing circle, because the wheel of life will flow smoothly only when that chakra rolls. Any one edge which is sharp, which stops you, will be like an anchor which will make you halt there. So, in order to make it smooth flowing, that's what we need. So, it's like that cycle of life. You can take a number of examples. The wheels in a car, or if you want to fly, then you need to have wings as well. So whether you dream, so even to fulfill your dreams, you need to have your thoughts and actions and words in place. Anything missing out of these will not land you anywhere.
And what is that disconnect that is keeping people away from being in this path, as you described? This path, you described the solution. What is that bridge that they're not able to go through or is stopping them? What is that?
I think people are very lonely within because they're all seeking something outside. The moment we think
Are
we
they
are
seeking something else outside, or they're looking for an escape because of that loneliness?
Exactly. I mean, these are just two other words. So you put it correctly in your own words. So they're just trying to find some solace outside because they think that it's easier to latch on to something outside than go the deeper self. They find it is dark inside. While they do not realize that the whole life began with a black hole and probably end going back into that black hole. So why fear the darkness? Or what they assume that this is darkness, or that there is loneliness within. So being alone does not necessarily mean being lonely. So it is as simple as that. But the moment one works on oneself, so upon working on oneself would mean that, exactly your point, Karthike, that one should learn to be self-dependent. The moment everybody learns that, yes, whether it be need or a matter of survival, or in terms of gaining more talent and growing and evolving. So, first and foremost would be to enable yourself to be able to live alone. The moment a person is confident enough that, yes, I can live alone, whether I have someone else in life or not, I can thrive, I can live, and I can live joyfully. What people are looking for is enjoyment. They're not understanding the difference between enjoying life and being joyful from within. The moment this joy part is understood in their real essence, I think we as a society will be much better. So if we work on ourselves and then each other, we help each other as a community, what you're trying to do, Kartike. So that is the way. Coming back to the change, and then we really get stronger. So it's not about increasing the number of people in that chain, it is about that quality and the strength that we hold in that chain. So when we talk about an empowered, a Saksham Bharat, so Saksham Bharat will happen when each one of us treats the other person like we would want to be treated. If we keep the outdoors as clean as we keep our houses. The moment we think that this is our nation, we're not trying to bring each other down. We are trying to uplift each other. So constructive criticism. So it should be taken as something that can actually help us grow. So here people these days would not want to listen to anything. Why? Maybe it works for you. Maybe it does something good to you. There is no film called a bad film or a good film. We all can learn from films as well. So whenever, as kids, of course, when the time OTT was not there, when all these cable and OTT platforms were not there was this time when we used to go to cinema halls and watch a film. So I would ask my kids then, all right, my first question used to be, how would you rate this film on a scale of 5? So they would rate it. And then I said, I would ask, what did you like about it? What did you not like about it? What did you learn from it? So that they would understand the essence of watching a film. It is not a time pass. They should learn what, even if you've spent good 2-3 hours in watching something, what have you learned by the end of it? Is it working good for you? Or are you, like most of the films these days, are you just learning to puff? Are you just learning to see, oh, how opulent the Bollywood or Hollywood or the world is? Are you trying to see that and just get into that stream because you feel that you're missing out on something? No, feel confident. If today, just this podcast of yours, Kartike, if that makes all the listeners, each one of them, just think by the end of the day, have they felt peaceful today? Or have they made someone else peaceful today? I think that's how the vibration will get better.
Hmm. Yeah, this is the way to bring the new earth paradigm, which is um, the frequency of Atma Shambhala is what we have initiated as well, to really bring this frequency, golden frequency, in reality for the whole vibration of the earth to rise, as reflection of our own living, of our own practice, of our own sadhana, and really breaking out of the competitive mindset, the scarcity mindset, all these kind of chains, which I will ask you about now, where you live, which is Delhi, Noida. People are so caught up in competition with one another, ego games, comparison. Of course, it's a very common human trait. It's there everywhere. But in Delhi, in India, as you said, it's on this chain of economic growth, which is great in many ways. But this comparison thing, people really, so many people are, I would say, the masses of Delhi are really stuck in that frequency still. Like, oh, he's like this, she's like this. How do you? Because I think many people in Delhi struggle with. I know many practitioners who are in Delhi. They find it challenging to be in Delhi because of this environment, which is the people's environment, and then of course the natural environment of Delhi, which reflects that, the pollution, the air, everything that you mentioned, and tying this to your own understanding, and also to what you're doing for yourself. How do you sustain your vibration high in a place like that externally is there? And second, how did Niranjali happen for you? Because I remember I was quite young when you launched it first, so it was quite a long time ago you launched it. So it's been a long journey for you in Niranjali as well. So please delve into Niranjali as well, so people can learn more about what you're doing with Niranjali. Yeah, first just these two.
So, live every moment. So, living every moment would mean that Are you there, present with whatever you're doing? Only when we've got the hang of that moment that we can really build ourselves. Because when you're there, you would realize that are you being able to give the best in terms of what is required at that particular situation or moment. So I'm not saying that you should be blank and all right, I'm there. I'm there. What do you mean by being there? So that means are you contributing or are you being a very good recipient of something that is happening in that exchange?
Basically,
That
are you fully present or not?
Yes. So are you there in that moment? So when you're building your life moment by moment, you would always realize that time is so precious. Otherwise, days, months, years pass on, and we just look back, oh, time flies. Time flies. But how do you think you have actually contributed to your own life and to your family's life or to someone else's life? Have you made it better? So the whole aim should be that every moment, every hour, every day, even if you're to relax, that is not an issue. I'm not asking someone to just madly rush after something. What trying to say is that even if you're relaxing, relax. Don't mix it with something else. If you're talking, talk with full attention. If you're eating, eat with intention and with gratitude. Because if you're distracting your mind with something else, your brain with something else, your metabolism changes. That will not give a very healthy environment in your body. If you are driving, focus on your driving because otherwise it'll lead to accidents, right? Because the distraction. If you're at your work, focus on your work because that's how productivity will come. There was a time when I used to feel very happy. I can multitask. Yes, it was a good thing that I could multitask. But you can never do two tasks together. I can do one physical action with one mental action, but I cannot do two mental actions together. If I were to say, if I'm talking to you physically, I can just pick up my cup of tea or water and drink it. That is a physical action. But the moment, if I say I'm talking to Kartikeya and at the same time I can be talking to someone else, I can't. So it is actually impossible to multitask in the same faculty. Same faculty would mean a mental faculty. If you are not mentally present with the thing that you're doing, you're not doing justice to it. As simple as that. If you're eating and you're not focusing on eating, you're not doing justice to that eating. And that is why health issues. We say we are eating healthy, we are exercising. So why are there's more need for the supplements, more need to go to the doctors? Why this all the time restlessness? So one has to look within for that. That where am I lacking? So this is what, until you start building on your own self, multitasking will happen, but it will make you very uneasy if you do not have that flair to do one single task with ease and comfort. So you need to enable yourself to learn to enable and empower yourself to be able to handle many things. So I would actually think of this. Actually reminds me of a situation I once attended after having done Vipassana. So I attended Tantra festival, which is absolute opposite in philosophy. But why I attended that Tantra festival was because I wanted to not judge people who doing that, but I wanted to understand what is the psychology behind that. So I don't want to, because there are all kinds of people. How can we say each one of us has different features, different thumbprints? So how can we be the same? All of us are different. So all ideologies and that we build on, no, this is right, this is wrong. No, nothing can be right or wrong in totality. But if we understand each other and understand what is the other person's concern or issue or problem, things will be much better instead of judging and talking about them behind them. So when I went to the Tantra festival, it was really shocking for me because I come from an environment which is very different. Here, as a family, we share with each other, we talk to each other, and we lighten our hearts. We unburden our thoughts by the end of the day. That even if there is a certain thing which requires a discussion, we would go back and forth, but we would discuss it and settle that issue. Yeah, but If we lack, if we miss out on that, that jumbles up the whole system. We need to sort it out. It is something like the way we used to have wired earphones. Somehow they would all get entangled, and we would spend time just untangling them. But the moment if you wrap them up neatly and tag them and leave them, you'll find them the same way.
I want to
So
ask you something in this because I feel this is something humans of today, not just anybody, humans of today are struggling to resolve conflicts amongst other humans in their families and outside of their families, whoever they are. Tolerance has gone low of each other and emotions. So, how do you sustain that system in an external system that is really collapsing for so many people? Right? That is very, very like a very, it's a superpower almost in today's time, because I'm sure you also realize this, the family system, or what we perceive family, of people being together, right, souls choosing to be with one another in forms. It can be, we can call it like blood is one way, tribe, whatever it is. I mean, I'm also somebody who's connected to so many people, and I would say 80% of my time really goes into ensuring that the conflicts get resolved. And this is where a lot of human maturity evolves and comes into practice, right? And spirituality comes into practice, because you're kind of always, navigating, you're trying to work with your ego as well, ensuring that your things are also put into the place and others are taken into account, and all these kind of things, right? So how do you kind of work with this? And if you can share tips around this, I think people could really learn from this, because people are really struggling with conflicts within families, friendships, relationships, everything. Humans struggling to be with one another these days.
true. So first of all, I would really point out on a thing called digital toxicity. We are,
What do you mean
again,
by digital toxicity?
so first of all, we are in order to distract ourselves, to make ourselves engrossed and occupied with something that will bring happiness or joy or a smile or a laughter to us. So we are all seeking that. So whether it be social media, so our phones, which we call smartphones, they're getting smarter than us probably. They know how to outdo the human beings.
Yeah,
They're
algorithms.
cookies, the cookies are like baits for us, and one thing after the other, we get hooked onto the phones or our computers. So, and the computers have lately, like our phones are computers, whatever. So basically, a phone, it is just a arm length away, and we just instantly grab it. That is consuming so much of our time. So where is the time to find solutions? Where is the time to communicate with each other? These days, I think the root cause and the problem, I would say, is the art of communication.
Hmm.
If we spend time with each other, the moment we look into each other's eyes and talk, the whole thing will change. The moment we would talk only to the person we like or we are comfortable with, right? So if you think that person, even if they're talking about you or about themselves or about a certain situation, one should be open in terms of having a very healthy mindset, that you must be open to listening to what they're trying to say. If you believe, if you trust that that person is selflessly trying to guide you or give a suggestion, listen to it. If
So
that works,
I'm
take
going
it
to
or
interrupt
leave
you.
it.
I'm going to interrupt you because this point is quite important, I feel. Trust. It's the trust that is low amongst humans now. Why is that?
Yes.
And what's the antidote for it?
So again, you means anyone would choose one's own tribe, the kind of people they would want to be with. But when we, again, trust will happen only with communication. So I'm coming back to the bottom line. Until you start talking to the other person and understand the other person, how would you know that that person is trustworthy? The moment you gauge that that person is trustworthy in terms of reliability,
So
consistency.
tell somebody in 3 steps how to build trust, reliability, and understand the other person. Three steps that are very practical, implementable, that they can do from today, that helps them build trust, reliability, and communication for understanding. How would you describe it?
Perfect. Communicate. It will all start with the communication. So I've placed that card below. So that is the foundation stone. So one can start only with communication. When you talk, listening. So you got to listen to the other person. If you feel that the person, so sometimes we build bridges and sometimes we build walls. So again, it is our own perception or our own mindset or our own willingness. What do you want to do? So if you want to bridge the gap, you would want to walk. Yeah. If you build wall, you cannot. You're against it. So that is something that stops someone. So what I'm trying to say here is that only when you listen to the other person and talk with each other, you communicate. It is not one way talking. When one is talking, the other listens, and when the other person is talking, the first person listens. So only that way you'll reach somewhere where you would both agree or disagree. From that point, whether you agree or disagree, you can choose to deflect, or in a synchronized manner, you can move in the same direction. So it is all up to you what suits you. But if you are kind of aggressive or you retaliate, that no. So some people could be stubborn. So what one person could be called stubborn could also be considered in someone else's eyes strong-willed. So if you're determined in a positive way, in the right direction, if it is working for you, have that confidence that yes, you will make it happen even if things are going against you, because ultimately it is your own inner compass that will guide you. Each individual has an inner compass. So while it points towards north, everybody might be facing some other direction. So ultimately it will take time for any person to get in tune with that compass, that inner direction. So we are on a long journey. Koi aage hoga, koi piche hoga. So some would be walking with us. It doesn't matter. So we have to understand, if some people by experience are ahead of us, they've seen more life, we need to understand that they are speaking from certain experience. If there are, for example, I would learn from elders as well as the newer generation, because the older generation comes with certain experience, and if they are, obviously we have to believe and trust that they are genuinely caring for us in the selfless manner. So they do not have any selfish motive. So if we trust them for that, so number one, we can always find our path easier. So because we are not, one way could be that you're creating your own path. But no, Kartike, we are not creating our own path. That path has already been created by someone eons ago. If we are trying to seek something in terms of spirituality, be it Buddha, be it Krishna, be it Ram, any personality from any yoga, those paths have already been created. It is just that we need to cleanse our eyes, we need to defog our minds in order to walk on that path. But there are certain wisdom that we will definitely get, those nuggets that we will get from someone or the other, and that small tip could help. So if I'm talking about elders, or I would say that I learn from the youngsters, even like whether it be my own kids, or you talk about Gen Z, the newer generation. There's so much to learn, because each they're already an evolved version of ourselves.
Yeah.
So we cannot judge anyone that no, you do not have an experience or we are more knowledgeable. No, they come from certain level of wisdom. We have just newly acquired information, compiled it as knowledge, trying to compile it into wisdom, and then carve a path. But we're still walking on the path which the seekers and the ones who have already claimed themselves as Buddha or seen as Buddhas. Buddhas would mean someone who's buddhishali enough to have understood the real essence of life. So it is until one has experienced the higher level of meditation, this cannot be described to someone. So everybody takes their own time to understand. But what we can as individuals do is that whenever we are one with each other, Let's share thoughts. Let's understand that maybe this small tip could work for us. One small tip could work as a big leap for you in life. Sometimes it so happens what we have commented today that, oh, this person said this thing. And maybe a year or two down the line, you would say, oh, maybe it was that what that person meant. So when there would be times of realization sooner or later. So it is something that we all want to fly in today's time and the age of conveniences. But here we are not here to build the aircraft ourselves. Can we claim that all right from the scratch we'll build an aircraft? No, certain things have already been made convenient for us. That here is the airplane. Now fuel, spare time, add fuel to yourself. That energy, that higher level of energy in order to find your destination. I don't know if I'm sounding too ambiguous.
Raw and unfiltered we are.
Yeah.
Let's go into Niranjali now. Please share a bit about your journey with Niranjali, what it is, how it started, and what's it currently doing. Yeah.
Will you allow me to go into my past? Probably that somewhere had this foundation for this.
Of course, there's no rules. You free flow.
Okay. So, having been in Delhi and the kind of family I was raised and the kind of family members I had, I feel super blessed that I had such personalities in my immediate and the greater family that, as I told you, I was an observer and I got to learn so many things from them.
By the way, I've been sorry to interrupt. I've been meeting so much of your family in last 6 months everywhere I go. From your
Wow.
mother's side, yeah. The Indore and the Uttarakhand, yeah, I keep running into them and I'm in touch with so many of them. Yeah.
I'm so happy to hear that.
Yeah.
So, but if I would say when I was young, I would be talking about the previous generation. So each one of them had such beautiful things that I could, or the qualities one person should have. So whether I might have imbibed them or not, but they're at least in my thought that I need to work upon myself as an individual. So that way, I feel that I was quite inspired by those figures and personalities, that whether it be my paternal side or maternal side, they were such philanthropists, selfless people, and such qualified and such dignified people that I feel that, oh my God, there is so much to do in life.
Yeah.
So, somewhere, somehow, that must have been so deeply inculcated in me that I always wanted to do something. So, Kartikeya, I would share this small example when I had given my 10th board exams. So, way back, it used to be that we used to have 4 months break because the exams used to end in March, the board exams, and the new session would start in July. So, April, May, June, July, we used to have these 4 months break. And I was such a person, I was a very voracious reader. Because I was quiet kinds, so I would read more. So anything, Hindi or English, I would always try to pick up a book and read something. Even if I was setting up the library of my grandfather, I would shortlist certain books that when I'm done with this part of putting the books in the shelves, I'll read these certain books of my interest. So whatever, I always used to find that source of information for me, because those times we did not have Google, we did not have chat gpt. So what would be your, and those times no elders would have enough time to talk because they were already so busy working. Whatever means of knowledge that I could put my hands on, I would try to learn more. So when I was in grade 10, I felt 4 months of holiday, not going to school, and with all the things sorted in your life, you're just 15, 16, what would you do? So I was wondering, all right, I was reading newspaper, which again, my father inculcated the habit of you must read newspapers every day. So when I was reading a newspaper, I came across this ad which said, um, uh, post is required for hosting some event which was in Vigyan Bhavan, which was one of the key centers for the government to hold some important events. So I think it was for FICCI or something that there was an event happening. So I was to apply. I thought of applying, but what were the conditions for it? They had to be postgraduates to apply to be a part of the organizing team. And I was just a girl in a school, like just given my 10th exams, grade 10 exams. And nevertheless, I just wrote to them and I got a call. They interviewed me and I was on board. And who were with me? All postgraduate girls, all working professionals. And I was treated like a kid, but so well taken care of. And I had so much to learn in just those 3 days of exhibition. So just imagine if I, being such a little girl, I always had that um, desire to do something in life at any point of time without wasting my time. Whether I'm learning or I'm adapting, I'm executing or sharing it with others in order. The whole intention was to be a seeker, to be a learner in life. So, having said that, as a kid, as in the middle school and higher school, and then when I got married, it was a conservative family. I was asked not to have a job of my own, and I was said that all right. I was given the only option that if you want, you can join the family business. So I used to handle accounts. That was the first time we had computers at our home, and so I started doing that with kids. I got busier with kids, so even that was kind of sidelined. But nevertheless, I always kept learning and doing something or the other. So, but emotions, family, and I feel that until you have the right connection, so communication and then connection is the second step. So only when you communicate that you build connection. And I always felt that having your sound connection with your family is very important. So I gave my initial years after my marriage to my family, to my children, because the hand that rocks the cradle rules the world, is my belief.
What does that
So,
mean?
so hand that rocks the cradle would mean when the child is still young. So although the mother is spending time with the child just rocking the cradle, that means building upon the child. So helping the child grow, because that is the future. That child is going to be the future, right? So if a mother is spending time with one child or two children or three children, as many children as one has, or maybe we can talk about the teachers who are giving more valuable time and teaching so many more students. So that hand which is rocking the cradle would mean that cot or that crib in which the child is growing. So that rules the world. How would that mother? So I would say that whether a person, a woman, is a homemaker or a professional, working professional, it doesn't matter. Whatever field you are in, you are contributing in some or the other way. So I was focusing in those years on my children, because until I felt that my children were sound enough and good enough to step into the outer world. Outer world would mean out of the school once the schooling is done. So that part was done. So when my children grew up and were independent enough to take care of themselves, and my husband said, if you'd like to start your own business, now that you have time in hand and you're not those kinds who would sit idle doing nothing because the kids are grown up enough. So I said, earlier I was not allowed to work, and now
How
that
did
I'm allowed.
you at that time deal with that? Not being, being in a society so conservative and a structure of Indian society in that time, now it's changed, of course, and you, of course, also played a role in for your children. For in our families, we have always encouraged girls to be independent in all the ways, right? So how did you deal with that, with your inner fire in that period? Like, of course, there were many challenges, but how was your dealing of those conflicts internally and externally?
It can be done only in a phased manner, because I did not want to be aggressive enough to have broken that connection with family members. So it always takes time when you try to make the atmosphere more congenial and with greater understanding. So in a society where it was more of a man's world that time, and chauvinism and the authoritative approach of the certain people. So that, of course, was a big deterrent in my life, and I actually lost quite a few years just struggling during those times. Not because I was incapable, but because the situations were such that it was a struggle. ठीक है, everybody has those phases of struggle in whatever phase of their life. It could be challenging for anyone. yeah, I wasted a lot of years, I would say, but I never wasted in other ways because I was invested in something else. So it was, maybe I might have lagged at one front, but I was investing and learning, growing at the other front also. So I would take it as the positive side. Like I would take it as a pros of that. So how I evolved, for example, there was a time when I knew how to drive a car, the challenges that you're talking about. So I knew how to drive a car, but I was not allowed to drive a car after my marriage. And there was a time when my daughter, she was unwell, and neither the driver nor my husband were there at home, and I could not take my daughter to the doctor. And I looked at the car key and I said, this is ridiculous. I know how to drive. I have the car keys. My baby is unwell. I have all the reasons to go to take my daughter immediately to the doctor. And I could not. I had to call up a friend and request that please take me to the doctor. That was the time, the moment I decided, all said and done, I'm learning. So sometimes you have to put your foot down. So sometimes you have to take that step. You have to decide for yourself that how much can you take and where is that turning point. So you have to decide what is that saturation point. That so you have to balance it all. So one has to see in one's own life. So and from that point of having decided to drive the car, I have been the car rally winner. I have been India's first Formula One marshal. And after so many years, when I drove on the Grand Prix track recently, doing the karting, I just loved it. And I knew that the confidence and the thing, that fire I had in me, I could really prove myself by having performed very well, even after so many years on the kart, on the circuit, internationally. So that is one aspect. And as for the professional thing, so that is how Niranjali began. So I said there was a time, the years when I could have done something on my own in terms of financial standing. But now that phase has passed. We are already blessed with so many things that now it's our time to give back to the society. So, with that thought, I just simply said that I want to start a charitable trust, which would be the platform to give back to the society. And that time, social media, Facebook was just picking up. And I used that as a platform, and it really helped me build the connections, the network, the selfless volunteers. So I built my own tribe. So I know since then, ever since I started, all I need is my phone, maybe just a text message, not even a call, and I can get my work done, whether locally or in India or anywhere in the world. I feel so empowered that I use social media in a very constructive way to help me do the wonderful work in whatever way. I would call it wonderful because any good work that you do is wonderful enough. So I would want everybody to feel happy with whatever little bit good that they've done. It might not qualify for an accolade or an award or something, but by the end of the day, you'll feel happy that you did something good, whether for yourself or for someone. That is all it needs to feel that you did something worth.
Can you share more about the current work that you are engaged with Niranjali? So, in brief, you can just share the kind of initiatives going on so people can connect with Niranjali. If anybody who wants to volunteer or something that you are looking for through Niranjali as well.
Great. Thank you so much for this opportunity to speak more about Niranjali. So, earlier, as I said, I started off with the outer environment. So, nature, environment, because I felt the pollution levels were going higher. That time, people were not really aware. Why am I talking about water conservation? Why am I talking about the pollution? Theek hai na? We are fine. We're doing fine. We're alive. We're fine. We're doing good. So, only later, with passing time, did they realize what I'm talking about. So, sometimes people need some time to really understand what someone is talking about. So having
Pioneers, it's always like that. You start something, they don't see, and then they see it, and then they realize. That's always the cycle of it. Always.
yeah. So way back when Vivekanand ji must have talked about wisdom, so people judged him even then. So but then decades, centuries later, he still remembers. He's still remembered for his wisdom, right? Osho, he was so much rejected and talked about. Well, he was quite a personality that was talked about way back.
Disruptor.
But now, to Osho, he was way ahead of his time. Right? So
They're all there in that time to disrupt the timelines. Basically, they come to disrupt the timelines to because they hold such a high frequency, and their existence itself becomes a reflection for the collective, because they cannot be broken in any way because their vibration is so high, right? That's how it works with beings like this. um, but yeah, sorry, continue.
and not to forget, Osho was murdered. He was killed. So that
Yeah.
is something. So even personalities who are seekers and are sharing only for the good, but even he was misunderstood, and for whatever reasons he did not die a natural death. So nevertheless, so when I was dealing with a lot of volunteers, youngsters, and I was seeing that the outer environment is just a reflection of our inner environment, how the youth was actually getting addicted to all these substances. So if you are disrupting your own natural creativity with all these addictions. So that is when I started Niranjali in 2011. And in 6 years of time, I landed up joining hands with an international organization called Foundation for a Drug Free World. The headquarters are in Los Angeles. And over the years, I've become the lead volunteer of Drug Free World India chapter. And I conduct awareness campaigns and lectures and distribution booklets, informative booklets, in order to make people aware of the harmful effects of any such substances. So so that if only the youth of today is healthy enough, that the future that we're looking for, when we're trying to save and protect environment and build a healthier environment, for whom? It is who will be in the future. It is today's present generations or the coming generations who will be benefited from today's environment. But if they are unhealthy from within, what is the whole use, what of the purpose of the efforts that you're making today? So they need to be healthy. So my domain started working in different directions. So ultimately it became a multi-pronged strategy. Like as I said, that it has to be multi-directional. Outer environment, inner environment. How does inner environment can be worked upon? Education. So I'm also working in the stream of education. We have a school which has about 400 500 students in a rural area in Rajasthan. So where we have a co-education school, so we are educating there and many other areas. So we kind of empower ladies in tribal areas of Madhya Pradesh as well. So, and then we have flood relief drives wherever it be, Assam, Kerala, or Uttarakhand, or Srinagar. We conducted several campaigns in order to bring back life, infuse life in those people who had lost the basic necessities during all these calamities and disasters. So everything is actually so integrated, because if we talk about the school, what does the school do? It teaches us many subjects. So if we talk about the school of life, there are so many subjects that we need to learn, because certain things are not taught in schools or universities. This is something that we need to open our eyes and learn ourselves. So that is how I feel that Niranjali has been a holistic platform for making our communities, strengthening our communities, and making our nation better. That's what my pursuit is.
Amazing. Now, I want to ask you, we've covered spiritual journey, so much of your insights, your service work, your charity work, seva related. Now let's go also some family, your family journey with in the initial stages. Now let's go into your creative processes, because you're a very creative person. You are very multifaceted. I know few things that you do. I don't know all of them, to be honest, because they're so very. I know the voice acting you do. I know in that you're very interested in dance as well. Like arts have always been a big pursuit of yours, and I think we are very similar that way as well. So if you share your creative processes, how you channel that creation, how do you bring form to that Shakti. We're in the time of Navratri, so it's all about energy and form, right? The Shiva and the Shakti in simple ways. So Shakti being this wild energy, and then Shiva containing it in simple understanding. So, what's your creative processes? What are the different creative modalities that you are focused on at the moment, and what is birthing through you in that aspect?
Uh, it is very interesting, and I can't really define myself because when we speak of arts, it is my space of solace. That's how I would put it. So, whether it be music, dancing, theater work, or painting, driving, or voice acting. So anything that I do, when I just am with it, I feel so elated. So I feel that is no less than meditation, which we all try to do in our respective busy lives and routines. So anything, so what is meditation? So anything that really enlivens you from within when you're creating something. So that is what you need. So I feel that any human being, any person should have all these qualities. Number one, survival of the fittest. So make yourself capable enough that, yes, if need be, you can thrive alone. You are independent and saksham enough to live your life
Empowered.
with the, with them empowered to with the minimal as well. So even if there were all the extras were chucked out one by one in your life, will you be able to survive? So first of all, empower yourself that yes, you are capable enough. So enhance your capabilities to survive. Then art field. So anything art field, and then the academics, and then physical, whether it be sports of any sort. Build on your build yourself stronger on a physical aspect also. Whether everybody should have some sport, where even if it is a small, easy, actionable sport, whether it could be even
Physical activity.
some physical activity, but you should be really good with it. Whatever field you choose, you should be great with it. I mean, great in the sense, good enough to say that, yes, I'm really fond of doing that. So, all these faculties should be enhanced. So, even my post recently yesterday, while everybody is saying Jai Mata Di and this form of Devi and all, I simply had a post which I clicked of a photo when I was in the flight, and I generally tend to click a picture either during sunrise or sunset when I have a beautiful that rainbow kind of an effect above clouds when it is dark. So I posted it yesterday, and all it said was 9 days, 9 forms, one truth, all within yourself. All the virtues are within you. It is just that you need to tap yourself and bring out one virtue out every passing moment. If we're talking about the 10th day, which is the Shahra, so that is also, there is no Ravan outside. I would really request all Indians to stop believing in burning the effigies of Ravan. We have enough.
Or at least if you're burning, just know it's a reflection that you need to burn something inside too.
Exactly. So stop burning outside and creating more air pollution and creating more waste. So instead of that, burn one vice in you and create another virtue in you. So either like cleansing process, anything, when a person evolves, how
Purification.
would, so first of all, cleanse yourself, detoxify yourself, then try try to heal yourself, like balance yourself, and then energize yourself. So these are the processes of Ayurveda, of healing. So whether it be yoga, so everything helps. So I would really encourage this thing, whether it is youth of today or whatever age. It's never too late to start, but please start practicing yogasanas and meditation. Meditation does not necessarily mean that you will feel something instantly, but even if you are just sitting yourself quietly and observing your thoughts pass by as a cloud, you're not attaching yourselves, maybe slowly, day after day, you'll get better. And that's when you'll see that you're more peaceful inside. And that's when you'll find the direction, because when you're trying to set a frequency on your radio channel, it will happen only when you are in tune, when you are aligned. Otherwise, you will not be able to find that song which you can dance on.
Mm, nice. Now let's go into some birthings. You're gonna be a grandmother soon. How does that feel? How's nervous, excited, both, neutral? Um, how's that been a process of seeing your daughter almost there with the birthing and yeah.
So I've always been super fond of kids. Even when I was a kid myself, I was really fond of kids and taking care of kids. So I feel that there was a mother in me even when I was a child. And this was a much awaited news that having everything comes with time, and both my kids married, and the family being complete at that level. And then we are all waiting for the new generation to come, the third generation in our family.
कोई तो
And
कर रहा है हमारे में
so, see, honestly, so I'm super excited about it. It's due next month. So I'm glad we wrapped this podcast this month itself. And because next month, when I say prioritize, live in the moment, so I want to sideline everything else, all other responsibilities, and just focus on the little being that is going to be with us and give that positive vibration and full attention that I always feel that one should give as a gift to other individual. So that quality time and feelings, purest of feelings and thoughts to the little one. So that's what I'm looking forward to. So I will seek everybody's good wishes that the child who's coming be an asset to the world in all possible ways. Thank
Yeah,
you.
yes, beautiful. Now this is kind of like the last segment. I'm gonna ask you some questions that was created by the team, Pratibha and team.
That's interesting. That the questions created by the team. We have been going absolutely raw and unfiltered and with a flow. That's awesome.
Yeah, so this is the last part. It's we have added it recently for more kind of just how what the collective is, going through the basic questions, and so we're asking these as well. So just few questions. I basically give more one-liners with these, not short, not more long ones, like quick ones as to what comes to you. Okay, so I'm gonna start asking them. You have worn so many hats: entrepreneur, philanthropist, life coach, voice artist, environmental activist. Which of these roles do you feel truly defines you at the core?
A learner.
Hmm. So when you say a learner means
I'm still learning. And
so
I'll learn till the very end of my life, because even then I will be learning to breathe out my last.
so that describe that as a stream. What does learning mean when you okay, you're a learner, but what does that mean? How does
So a
one
learner,
be a learner? How does one be a learner? That's the question.
sorry, can you repeat?
How does one be a learner?
Learner, you should always be inquisitive. There should be no stagnancy in life.
Okay, so inquisitivity
Every
meaning
person,
curiosity.
curiosity, every person, every situation has something to teach you. So just be quick learner. That what is it teaching me? Be good enough and sensible enough and sensitive enough to grab that as an opportunity to learn. As simple as that.
So every moment is a moment to stay curious and see what is there to learn from it.
If there is a situation, yes, what to learn from it, or learn to unlearn as well. Just when you have nothing else to do, just find peace.
Okay, so next question. From running Midas Capital's philanthropy arm to grassroots work with Niranjali Foundation, what has been the most eye-opening moment where you felt this is why I do what I do?
Awesome. Takes me back to 2016, and so there were flash floods in Kashmir. Srinagar was overflowing, and there was so much, so many issues that the people in Srinagar were facing. And way back that time, Kashmir did not consider itself as a part of India. They always had this feeling that they do not want to take help from the central government. And a lot of people, including my own family, they discouraged me that don't think of trying to create and build upon the relief material that you can collect and distribute there. It's not an easy task, so just let it go. Maybe that thought popped up in your mind, but let it go. It's not an easy thing. And So I said, "Ab thought aa hi gayi hai. If the thought has popped up in my mind, there must have been some reason behind it."
Where do you
So
think this equation in families come when people like us are so wild with our motives? Of course, it comes from a place of love, but because there's attachment there, right? They feel attached to us, but at the same time, they're like, these people are crazy.
yeah, they care for us in their own ways. So they're trying to protect us from whatever they feel that might be a deterrent or could be difficult for us. So I would take that aspect of it instead of just struggling with it. So I said,
So you
now that
laugh it off, or you laugh it off, or you play a rebel. What do you do, or both?
I'm a born Libran. I'm a born Libran. I know how to balance things. And that is the only way out. Because with anything dipping low at one end, if one thing is going higher, if the other thing is going low, no. My mindset is out of place. So I first balance it out. So while I'm doing this, I can give n number of examples of how I've actually taken actions
Can you share
despite.
quick, can you share quick tips for people to do this balance? How do you do it?
First, let me complete that incident. So when I was talking about Kashmir thing, so while I had all uh, advices of the odds, I said, if this thought has appeared, let me share. Let me just make the first attempt. If it doesn't happen, it doesn't happen. It doesn't matter. But the moment I posted an order, and the volunteers from all directions, they said they have a huge lot of material collected, but they did not have an option to make it reach to Srinagar. And that's when I use my connections. So communications, and I'm trying to say, so this is the answer. What you're asking me to tell others is what will be in here within this example. So my connections, all the volunteers that I had, they in different domains and all different stratas of life, they helped me. So on one hand, SpiceJet had that time created a facility that it can transport all these materials free of cost. So right from Hyderabad, we had all those material transported from SpiceJet to Jammu. It was all collected at a factory. Then the army people, the army connections, the friends that I had, I don't want to name them, but they would understand how they were helpful to me. And so selflessly, they facilitated, and the border security force picked up that material through army trucks, and it was all placed there at the center in Srinagar. I took a flight from Delhi to Srinagar, and the media friend that I had, that person was already covering the news in that area. He was ready for me to help me facilitate, to organize the whole material. And I was in downtown with all the Kashmiris. I felt so much a part of the family. It was so much opposite an experience of what people were telling me, that Kashmiris think Indians are this and they do not think good of them. I was among in their houses with them, and they were all helping me sort out the relief material, and they distributed the materials in every house, all those needy people. The next lot was created for the people who were living in the at the Dal Lake side. And when I was in the Shikara, I went there. I was shocked, or that they were so needy. They really desperately needed that material. That I still have videos. I had posted some pictures on social media as well. Literally, there was a time when I would feel that the shikara, the boat will topple. They were all desperately trying to grab bags that they needed the food, the medicines, everything, because they were suffering so much. So, talking about the downtown, the lakeside, and then when I went up to the hills, the mountain area, there was only one earning member who was a teenage young boy. He was the only earning member in a family of 10, 12 people. And he died because he was trying to save someone from the river flowing, the flooded river, and he died saving someone. And that family had so many aged people and mostly women. They had no earning member. And when I handed over, because money was what they needed that time, when I handed them over the envelope to help, and then other women, there was an old lady, a Ladakhi lady who was staying, a Kashmiri lady, and they were so old that all you could see were wrinkles on their face. They were living alone, and the gratitude in their eyes, the tears flowing from their eyes, it was all worth it. Had I stopped thinking of my own self, my safety, my security, and the advices given by my family that don't do it, Arey yaar, relax, you can do something else. Had I not listened, I would not have been able to reach out those people that time who were not getting help from the central government. I think that feeling. So it is not about me being recognized for my work. Yes,
How would you describe that feeling in a very simple line? And what is it in us that, or what is it in humans that drives that feeling or gets it going?
empathy, as simple as that. Compassion, empathy, and understanding. If we are called human, so if we do not have that humanity in us, if we are not being humane enough, we are not human beings. We are just a part of the animals in the whole body called Earth.
And now,
So
three days.
how would we distinguish ourselves? So it is only empathy. I would give another example. I think I shared that incident with you last year, that I was in Himachal Pradesh and I was walking and a stray
Yeah.
dog bit me. Yeah, so instead of feeling agitated and angry that why did that dog bite me, I just looked at that dog who ran away at that instant, and then from a street it peeped outside as if conversing with me with apologetic eyes that what had happened. And I just looked at it. Oh, you did not have to bite me. I was not there to harm you. This was the conversation that I had with that dog. And till date, I mean, so many people, family members asked me that, you're still clicking pictures with dogs? I said, yeah, I'm still not afraid of dogs, because if one dog bit you, that does not mean that every dog on earth is going to bite me. So that compassion, empathy, and understanding, I still walk very comfortably and closely with a dog. It is not that I would get too pally if I find a dog being aggressive or something. No, not that. You have to be sensible and yet sensitive enough. So that is how I would say that all these humane qualities that a person should have, just believe in those virtues. These 9 days, these Navratras, just simply try to indicate that you should have all these virtues within you. The day you kind of evoke that Shiva Shakti in you, you are not a man, you're not a woman. The moment you balance the masculine and the feminine qualities in yourself, that day you will find that inner balance, and the vibration of on this earth will find a balance. So let's work together, try to connect the dots that I have tried to, like, I've made those dots. So there was this another thing: when you connect the dots, you probably will be able to create an image which will probably give you an idea of what I'm talking about. So connect with the dots. Wherever you were, maybe it did not make sense way back, but when you look back and see things now in retrospect, you will find that yes, all those situations or those people are the reason why you are where you are today, and probably where you will be in future. So create your own ambience, your own environment in the direction you want to go, because all said and done, the vices and the virtues you choose today will be the direction. North pole or south pole, east or west, you decide which direction is yours and what will make you feel satisfied when you close your eyes.
Now we're gonna go to the last question. It's a question I'm just looking at and I'm combining few in it. It's about the youth of India, or youth of the world, I guess, both men and women who are breaking stereotypes, going through changes, all of these things. How can they navigate the breaking of the stereotypes, creations of new things, and everything that they're doing in family, society, workplace, while doing it all with balance? So it's more meaningful, courageous, their lives, and something simple but also powerful, which you have been juggling for many decades. So if you can share that balance aspect with people, how would you how would you give them the tips to do it in a way that sustains that balance?
Talk to yourself, converse with your own self. So when we were being trained as marshals, there used to be this one session in the morning called briefing, and one in the evening called debriefing. So I would say, when you start your day, start with brief. So just converse with yourself. Your inner compass will kind of tell you, it'll talk, your inner voice will talk to you, it'll guide you. what you need to do. It will very clearly tell you where you're going wrong and what you should be doing. If you try to just go beyond it, that's your call. But by the end of the day, that call that you've taken, so by the end of the day, before you call it a day, before you sleep, just recall your day and debrief yourself. Just think of what rights and what went right, what went wrong, and work upon it. So the next day, reboot your system, restart afresh. Do not carry the memories which act as deterrent in your life, but learn from the past, learn from everyone, and add it in your life chapter by chapter. And I believe that eventually we all, by the end of our lives, will write a book that is worth reading, worth read. So please, write that kind of a book, create that kind of a movie which at least you would love to watch by the end of it. So I'm sure others will also love to watch it and read it.
Nice. One last message before we wrap this up.
Keep smiling. No matter what the situation is, smile. Because if you smile today, it will help you feel composed. And only with a composed mind, in still waters, will you find a reflection of yourself. You'll see yourself and then find your way. So please smile, because that will keep your mind and heart calmer. And only with that calmness will your body will be fitter. So focus on your physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual health.
Thank you, Sarika. A lot of gems in here. Great to have you, and I'm sure many people will get many things out of it. So glad you could join us, and thank you for your time, attention, and energy. Thank you.
So thank you so much. But what is one thing that you would, based on our whole conversation, would you like to say to the world?
Keep listening.
Awesome. Keep sharing, keep listening, keep giving.
Yeah. Thank you so much.
Bye. Thank you.